So
just having,
overall, I mean, we've been
we
lucky.
do have
We've got enough, right?
3 positions.
Yes, we have.
Right. I mean, open is one thing,
Yeah.
but as far as your
But no.
Well, we just last night at city council, started an ordinance that you're gonna get fined if your grass is over 8 inches. And it used to be 10 inches, and now it's 8, but the mayor wanted to pass it on first and second reading, and we're like, no, there's no reason, because we've got, you know, all the winds and, or the storm, the flooding, it's heavy trash pickup this week, and we're like, you can wait 2 weeks, you don't need to rush this through. Yeah.
She is. There's places there. You know, I didn't see.
Well, no, we'll start maintaining them, but then we put it on their tax roll.
That's what they.
Last year, we maintained 107 yards.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
My guess is in the Anderson, more than that. That's
So I'm sure
My understanding.
it's just the demographics there.
well, a lot of times it's also.
With Tam Capital for a little bit.
Well, one landlord owned 13 of the properties that we were maintaining.
And they don't care.
No,
well, it's not on
No.
the website. It's just saying,
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm assuming he's just fully retired.
I hope so. I hope they did.
No, because they still occasionally answer to emails and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so their relationship. I just look at it as like Rick is out in the sunshine, enjoying life.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so.
Hi, Kylene.
Yeah, do a mic check.
Good morning. Can you hear
Morning.
us okay?
Hello, Jen. Yeah, it's Kylene here. I can hear you.
Okay. Thanks, you guys.
This is Ron. Can you hear me?
I can, Ron. Thanks
Okay.
for being here this morning. And did you guys have any damage?
From the tornado stuff, no, the floods, we had to evacuate a lot of areas. I've meant to call. And so sometimes, you can get too many people.
Yep.
And so we're just like, okay, and so, yeah, just like even at home with all the flooding and all that stuff going on, I was like, do I go check
Yeah,
it out?
they're on
Do I go
the-
to City Hall or do I just
Maybe there's a bit.
just stay away because, that's, and I wasn't back in town until noon on Saturday, cause I had Porter County Lincoln Hay dinner Thursday night.
We just went to
Okay, so I didn't get back in town until
Yesterday.
Saturday. And by
Did
then,
you
they'd
see
already
it?
filled
Like,
all the
that
sandbags.
It's
and they were
another
doing
one
just
a couple
like that,
hours
but
later.
it's just like, sometimes
I'm just worried.
you could be more of a pain than anything.
Well, I was really impressed with the Carmel Street Department and all the,
Well,
how well they, cut up trees and got them off the side of the roads, let alone, I mean, they got them out of the roads, but then people who had them, beside in their side yards, if they put them to the side, then the street department came and cleared them, in 2 days.
well, it's just like Jamie Foreman, she's with the water department there, and so she was texting me to make, cause they kept hearing about Shelbyville too, and I'm like, well, how are you guys doing? And she's like, we're fine, and then the next morning, she's like, Carmel's almost like Las Vegas, during the night, there's lots of activity and things going on and people are out and about,
True.
blah, blah, blah. And she's like, the next day, it's like nothing ever happened because everybody just got in there and
Well,
just
it's,
started
I
working
think-
away and yeah.
Yeah, well, almost, except if you drive
I know,
around
it's
and,
9:02.
my husband and I drove around
It's Larry.
last night, may have been last night, and it's amazing the number of roofs that have partial tarps or tarp
Last night.
them unless it's bare.
Right.
He said, we need to have our
Raspberries,
roof
blackberries.
checked just to
so
make
I
sure
absolutely.
if we got
went for it last
dumped
night.
on. He said, but look at that roof, how many little.
Good, how are you? So what's in? No, getting her too much.
Places
It was a go and then it wasn't a go. Right now, I'm not sure.
So they're trying to like go out to 39, I heard.
Well, almost a third. It'll be,
So the houses don't quite look the same, but as far as,
Sure.
yeah, it's a
you know, stuff lying on the
residential.
ground, they
Plan around the golf
picked
course.
up.
Is that all?
Well, I guess there's already a lot of shysters
No.
out
Oh,
there
yeah, all
who
developed.
say that they can,
John, yeah.
yeah, so it's
So the golf course, and I don't know if he's still.
just sad.
Another company who's
Doing the.
wants to do the residential development.
We do have. So he's gonna get.
The last I heard.
What's up?
Hey,
Good, how are you doing?
Needed to,
Good, doing very well. Yeah.
was not willing to make that.
Where all your votes need to be voice
I've
votes.
got his name.
You guys have a lot of damage.
He sponsored a bill
So one of our properties.
1 or 2 sessions ago
Right over,
to permit a
Gramercy, which is a property. in
third-class city
Rock Hills, that old.
to do shoestring annexation.
116th range.
They didn't want-
So the tornado was literally, I was holding my breath.
Plainfield's the town.
But you lost a
It's
lot of trees in
larger than
Gramercy
many
along
cities.
Keystone.
Right.
Oh, that was devastating.
State,
Those trees were like.
it's a town.
20-year-old.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And it was like, just left in a bucket.
And you can't replace those.
No.
Yes.
No,
I
that was
like
that.
Clayton.
So I was driving through the next.
Oh, okay.
and that-
Yeah,
that-
well, you're
that-
very familiar with
I was
it.
thrilled nobody was injured.
Well, and
Right.
of course, no, I agree with you, but as I drove to work the next day, it about made me want to cry, all of those beautiful
100-year-old
trees.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the school corporation has signed off on it. They're willing to. Hold it a minute. Oh, thank you. Oh, Linda.
Well, good
Hi,
morning,
how are you?
everybody.
Okay.
How is everybody today? Good. Great, I think we have a quorum, so we can, you want to kick us off?
Run real quick, everybody introduce themselves real quick.
Good morning, Ramita Meyer.
Rob Wagner, ATU 1070.
Larry Hessen, Hendricks County.
Linda Sanders, Shelby County.
Ann Poindexter, counsel for CIRTA.
Jennifer Gebhardt, Executive Director, CIRTA.
Jerry Bridges, Madison County.
Mike Gorowski, Boone County.
Andrew Kleinman, City of Indianapolis.
Lindy Smith, CSW County. Financial consultant.
Chris Petrulis, Program Manager, CIRTA.
Ron, you want to start us off online?
Ron Deere, Johnson County.
Eileen,
Eileen Swackhammer, DMMPC from Delaware County.
Suzanne,
Hi, I'm Suzanne Darren-Gasky, Hancock County Senior Services, Ride Hancock Transportation.
Patrick,
Patrick Tam on behalf of Tam Capital Group at the State House today. Abby will be hopefully joining us here. She's delayed with some meetings with some legislators.
thanks. Chris? Oh, sorry. And Destiny Wells. Destiny?
Hi, Destiny Wells, Marion County.
All right, got sun out today. It's chilly, but we've got a sun sign out. So we'll get the consent agenda items. Normally just do this as resolution 2025-04-08-01. If there's no discussion on it, take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Linda, motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Larry, second. So we have a motion by Linda and second by Larry. Roll call vote, please. Up.
Aye.
Hi.
Sorry.
No, she's got to call you by name.
I have to call you guys, yeah.
He pointed at me, so I said aye.
Yeah.
No worries, it's okay. We're good. Jerry Bridges,
Yes.
Destiny Wells,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Don, Christine, Ron,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Pam, Kylie,
Yes.
and Rob.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, under new business, first item is resolution 2025-04-08-02. Resolution to approve updates to CIRTA policies and procedures manual.
As some of you may know, we are in the process of our triennial review for FTA, and Amanda and I just went to Chicago and sat through an FTA workshop. And through that workshop, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that we are always constantly updating our policies and procedures to make sure they're in line with FTA standards and updates and things like that. So primarily, we added some language to make sure we review our language line assistance program, which we already had in place, but it wasn't listed in our policies and procedures as a part of the training that we do with new hire staff. And so we wanted to add that. We also wanted to add, we have an employee assistance program. It's always been in place. It's been in place for the last 13 years since I worked at CIRTA. But there wasn't a lot of details about it in our policies and procedures manual, and it is a requirement that they look for. So we went ahead and added that into our policies and procedures. We added details on a whistleblower policy, which you will hear about here soon as a part of an FTA requirement of having a safety plan for our Workforce Connector program. And then finally, the largest edits were basically, since we had a new contract with Go Express Travel, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that our vendor policies that we have with Go Express Travel were updated in our policies and procedures. That was the largest section that had edits, and we did include those pages as a part of your packet for any questions or review.
Do you have any questions of Jen? So no questions of Jen and no discussion. Need a motion for approval in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Linda and second by Andrew. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Jen, roll call.
Man, I'm like skipping over me.
It's all right.
Just go home today. All right, Jerry,
Yes.
Destiny,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Don, Christine, Ron,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Cam, Kylie,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item up on our new business is item B, resolution 2025-04-08-03. Resolution to approve the Central Indiana Regional Transportation Authority Public Transportation Action Plan, which Jen had already discussed. Do you want to add anything else, Jen?
Yeah, so this was the new FTA requirement that Amanda and I learned about through our workshop and through going through the triennial review process. We were proactive and went ahead immediately when we, this was a new FTA requirement last year that went into effect, and it's basically allows somebody in CIRTA or somebody who is an employee of CIRTA to be able to reach out to ManagePoint, who is our contractor that helps us with HR issues and payroll and things like that, to report any safety concerns of the agency confidential. It also would allow any of our riders on the bus service that we provide through Go Express Travel to also go report safety concerns by doing so through a QR code or by calling a phone number, but being able to do so in a way that can be confidential. So that's pretty much the gist of it. We also will have reporting that we will do as a part of it. The whole plan is in the back of your packets. It's pretty short. It's about 3 pages. It also includes a portion that we would do some social media campaigns regarding safety for transit riders and things to that extent. Does anybody have any questions?
Now we need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Linda, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Michael. Jen, roll call.
Jerry,
Yes.
Destiny,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Don, Christine, Ron,
Yeah.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Cam, Kyleen,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item C under new business, resolution 2025-04-08-04, resolution authorizing executive director to amend contract with Go Express for Whitestown Connector. Jen?
Sure. Chris, can you put the map up, please? All right, so most of you guys are aware that we were working on a redesign for the Whitestown Connector service. We have worked with Transpro and the Whitestown EID and Go Express to come up with a recommended service change. The attached map is the recommended service change. There are some key things to point out here with this is that the primary largest change is going to be connecting where we're going to be connecting. So currently we were connecting at Traders Points. And we are now, when this goes into effect, we'll connect at the Lafayette Square Mall. There's a Indigo stop. It's actually stop ID 10307. If you're familiar with Indigo stop IDs, you can actually enter that in and like physically see the stop, which is a really nice feature. We're going to be taking the service from a total of 15 stops currently to 12 stops. There will be no changes in the amount of the contract with Go Express. So the financial dollar amount that they will be receiving and the hours that the bus will be operating will still be the same. The biggest changes from the schedule as well is we'll be moving some of the signs across the street just from where some of the current stops are currently at, in addition to eliminating the stops at the shops at the Whitestown shops at, what are they called? Going off the top of, but like where the Meyer is, like stop 2 currently by Meyer and stop 3, they don't have high ridership numbers. In addition to that, they're technically not in the EID district. So that was another reasoning why the EID had agreed to remove that. It helps with the timing. The bus will also enter Whitestown and leave Whitestown from the new exit off of 65 versus using the Whitestown Parkway exit. So this contract is to allow me to amend the current contract when the time comes to basically amend just the schedule itself and the pickup location with no other terms or conditions of the contract being changed. We are working currently to come up with a timeline for this implementation. As I mentioned, it has been tested. We have been in conversation with the Whitestown EID. They seem to be fully on board. We do have another board meeting with them right after this meeting later today. we would work with them to move the signs for the stop. Right now, we are looking at potentially having an implementation goal of June 1st. That is the tentative plan that would give us, if we put out public notice on Monday of next week, about 50 days of public notice. And our plan would be to not only have information on the buses for all the current riders, we would put notifications on all the signs that are currently out there, work with social media, have a public meeting, and also do press releases regarding the change. Are there any questions for me or for Amanda on this topic?
So if I may, first, Jen and I worked on this resolution, which I see has one typographical error in it now that I'm looking at it today, but because of the timing of your meetings and because of the implementation time, and this is still a little bit in flux, it seems to me that it is appropriate for you to delegate this to her. It is simply the stops and the connection points. It's limited clearly in the resolution. She can't change the contract amount. And she needs to have some more meetings with the EID and the contractor out there. So that is limited clearly in the resolution. And that's why it's coming before you now, even though it's not totally finalized. That's what it probably will be, but she needs some more time before your next meeting to get this done. And so an amendment that's limited, I think, is appropriate for her to go ahead and execute on your behalf.
Does anybody have any further questions of Jen or Ann?
Just from my understanding, and maybe you said this, so apologies if you already said it.
It's okay.
What caused because the big change sounds like it's moving from 86th Street down to 38th and Lafayette.
It
Is it?
came out of the study that we did with Transpro Consulting and working with the town specifically on how we could increase ridership. So a couple key factors, the 38th Lafayette Square Mall connection point has, two different buses currently, the Route 37 and the Route 38 that go there. The Route 37 is actually on 30-minute frequency, so it actually connects people there more frequent than, and then the 38 has a little bit more limited, but still has the option to connect people there, to connect with our service. It's also close to a lot of low-income housing and different things to that extent. And that was something that came out of the study, was to work to how do we increase ridership and look at a different connection point than Traders Point. At Traders Point, recently they also lost the crosstown at 86th Street. So right now there's only one bus that connects at Traders Point. It's the 37 and it's an hourly frequency. So the ideal is more frequency, more connection points, closer to low-income housing. And it was something that came out of it. I actually also learned of a new development going in over there as well early this morning when I was laying in bed thinking about the board meeting, which was kind of interesting. I didn't know anything about it, but they are going to be redesigning the Lafayette Square Mall area with housing and different things to that extent as well. So,
And that was gonna be my question, because I thought the Lafayette Mall area was pretty much dead. It was empty, nothing going on,
Right.
and it was a really bad part of town. And so are you really gonna pick up that many more riders?
that's the intent, yeah. So,
Okay.
yep. That's the recommendation, so.
Any other questions?
And does the motion need to be revised then? Because you said it was a limited, I think you said a limited amendment as far as what Jen can do. I didn't know if it can be approved as is or if it needed to be revised on
The schedule
on what was proposed.
If you look at the last paragraph, the second line, if you would change with amendments to which amendments? That's the typographical error. That jumped out at me this morning that I read over 15 times when we talked about it.
I did have her review them. But, yeah, that's okay.
I don't have
I
any
did.
questions. so-
Yeah,
I read over them.
she did, and she even read the packet.
And pointed out an error.
Yeah.
If there are no further questions, do you need a motion for approval of second?
Move approval.
Motion by Andrew. Do we have a
Second.
Second Second by Andrew. I mean, Michael, sorry.
Was it Michael or Rob?
Yeah, I'll second.
Did two.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I have a motion by Andrew and a second by Rob / Michael. Okay, Jen, you want to give roll call,
Yeah.
please?
All right. Jerry,
Yes.
Destiny,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm at Dawn, I'm sorry. I said it out of order. That's why my head went up. Christine? Ron just,
yeah.
would you like, okay.
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Cam, Kyleen,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes.
Since it's just that one word change, is it okay to pass this or?
Did you change the which? Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is CIRTA updates. First one is A, legislative update. Patrick?
Hey, good morning. Sorry about being in a phone booth, but it's the funny season at the State House, which will continue. I'll try to be efficient today. We obviously have the state budget. It's committee report deadline this week, which is this Thursday. We have the state budget being heard by the Senate Appropriations Committee on Thursday morning. There still continues to be a $45 million appropriation to the PTMF, Public Mass Transportation Fund, in that state budget. We do anticipate next week to have the April revenue forecast. So a lot of this conversation with regards to budgets and taxes and so forth will be impacted by that revenue forecast which we anticipate to be next week. There's differences of days, but it will be next week as well. If you haven't looked at a newspaper and you're involved in local government, which many of you are, Senate Bill 1, you may want to, if you're a drinking individual, you probably would want to remove all alcohol from your house and not go to a restaurant or anything of that nature in the near future. Senate Bill 1 does change quite a bit and continues to change quite a bit local government financing. Well, this does not directly impact CIRTA. It obviously impacts county budgeting, municipal budgeting across the state. There's an elimination of business personal property tax, which communities like Whitestown will probably really start reevaluating some of their 20, 30-year bonds that really rely on some of those tax revenues for the future. It doesn't go backwards, but it does talk about moving forward as well. You also have some property tax measures in there. I could go into detail on that bill, but will not at this time. 1461, which is the road funding bill. It was heard in Senate Transportation. It will be heard on Thursday along the same committee hearing with the budget by Senate Appropriations. This has an appropriation, so those bills have to be reassigned, just like how it was reassigned in the House from House Transportation to House Ways and Means. It was heard in Senate Transportation, Homeland Security, and Transportation technically, and has been reassigned to appropriations. We anticipate this will be amended to address several of the bill's fiscal implications on Thursday. It will be also interesting to see if Mishler moves the bill as a standalone bill, or if he just rolls that into the budget. He's already talked about that and started doing that with regards to some healthcare issues. Already having some conversations in his committee, doesn't move the bill, but says we're going to address this in the budget. Do not be alarmed if that happens. That just kind of Mishler's prerogative as the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. 1390 was amended and passed out of the Senate Appropriations Committee. The bill was on the second reading calendar yesterday. There was 4 amendments filed. None of them were offered by Senator Freeman. This does have the language allowing public transportation corporations the ability to enter into interlocal agreements with an adjacent county to provide cross-county services was maintained. It does specifically, though, does not apply to a county with consolidated government, aka Marion County, as that issue continues to move forward. That bill, though, did pass, was ordered and engrossed on second reading. It will be eligible for third reading actually today. We'll see if they choose to move that. I would anticipate that bill may get a concurrence. I have not talked directly to the Pressel specifically on 1390. I will say that Senator Pressel and Representative Pressel and Senator Freeman did have a little sparring in committee. For those of you keeping track, Pressel is frankly the committee chairman that to all intents and matters would defeat routinely Senator Freeman's measures or attempts to really derail Indigo and bus rapid transit. So it was a little bit of an inside baseball committee hearing, which I kind of enjoyed for sick, twisted means. Senate Bill 5, which is state and fiscal contracting matters. This bill really caused a lot of consternation, particularly in the transportation community with regards to NDOT and grants and funding and so forth. This bill has been dramatically amended specifically to address some of those concerns. It is eligible for second reading this week. Was amended to include an exception to reporting requirement for contracts entered into by NDOT. A lot of the grants and so forth, unless there is a state match, they will not have to have that. If there is a state match, there's a report and a conversation with the state budget committee with regards to that. OMB, Office of Management and Budget, is really taking over a lot of these types of pieces as well. As a side note, a lot of states are still going through these types of conversations with trying to exert more legislative oversight with regards to the executive branch. I would say this is a little bit of an editorial, but I would say that this is really still a continued outgrowth of legislatures throughout the country, including ours, really seeing a lot of governors, regardless of party, it's not a party conversation, acting during the COVID time period with a lot of executive orders and legislators really kind of trying to exert their influence with regards to the executive branch. So you continue to see some of those types of folks as well. We are keeping track of House Bill 1427, which is got a real fancy name, Fiscal and Administrative Matters, otherwise known as the Department of Local Government and Finance, or as I like to say, the biggest Christmas tree bill of every session. All the good measures find their way into the DLGF bill. Representative Craig Snow, yet again, this year will be the most popular gentleman outside of the budget writers during the end of the session, because every measure will be trying to find a home in the DLGF bill. So we do keep track of that bill pretty closely. I've actually sat down with Representative Snow weekly now. I started about a month ago just talking to him about that bill and other matters as well, trying to anything that may be going in there, coming out of there, really trying to keep track of. You may see road funding issues suddenly being put into that bill, tax matters and so forth that really do have an impact to our partners and potentially ourselves as well. So those are the pieces there. I do appreciate everyone's patience. There is no fiscal as of 5:30 last night and this morning. I've been chasing my tail with regards to Senate Bill 1, to be frank. A full fiscal analysis, a full school run will be done on Senate Bill 1. A lot of you probably have a lot of questions about that for a lot of different reasons, and so do many others. So, but we're really reviewing that one pretty hard today and through the night as well. Any questions?
Well, this isn't about any current bills, but
Sure.
just curious if we're seeing any impact of Dodge at the legislature.
In the state level, sure, we absolutely have. So right now, the State Department of Health, really FSA, has about $400 million anticipated in losses with regards to the efforts of Doge. You also see a lot of review on government contracting, Crane, and so forth. The state of Indiana overall actually is a pretty large recipient of federal dollars. We also have concerns with this is getting into the weeds, but this is the perfect group to understand this. Our NDOT process, transportation process, we typically manage our finances pretty well. Some states do not. So at the end of the year, this is my language. There's better language, but for sake of conversation, we actually usually apply for some additional federal highway funds, and our NPOs and others usually are pretty successful in getting those. So not huge amounts, but all those types of pieces and programs are all at risk at this point. But we have documented $400 million worth of loss with regards to FSA, Department of Health, which is pretty significant when you have a pretty large gap. You had $1 billion accounting error. If my kids would not balance their checkbook by $1 billion, it would be a pretty bad day. So that's the part where that $400 million is pretty significant. Jeff Thompson, Chairman Thompson, as well as Craig Snow, Senator Mishler, Senator Holdman, Representative Jordan as well, kind of the key fiscal legislators are very concerned about how they, Ron, really calculate what those dollars may or may not be. Because frankly, that $400 million could just be a drop in the bucket. And we're trying to pass a budget here by the end of the month. And you may have more losses coming in August. And so how does the state adjust to that as well? And some of these numbers are pretty significant. And they're programs that people do rely on. So it will be interesting.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Patrick? That's a big hit, almost $500,000. So no other questions. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Abby, for working on our behalf and keeping us updated. So I'm sure that you'll send Jen anything if it's important to pass along to all of us. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate the updates that you send us regularly. So
we appreciate it.
All right, I'll let you guys go and have as good a day as possible.
We'll try.
Well, it sounds like you actually kind of forecasted our day, and we appreciate that. I try to keep a positive outlook. Abby helps, so that's great. So thank you very much.
Right,
Thank you.
Next up, item B, mobility update, Amanda.
Yeah, so through a resolution, you already got to hear about some of the updates with Whitestown and the semi redesign. So that's been exciting to see in motion and looking forward to presenting today at the Whitestown EID meeting to, I know talking to Todd, they're all on board with that, but just getting their final okay and allowing them to see the new schedule and everything, they haven't gotten that in front of them yet, so they will today. So that will be great. I've been meeting with Sam every week. Sam is our outreach rep that covers both Plainfield and Whitestown so that we can stay connected on what businesses and our different organizations who are out there on the connector route and seeing how she's doing. So it's cool to see the progress she's making, who she's connecting with. And she's also been writing here and there. Our newbie Noah wrote on the connector recently too. And it's always great to hear some of the feedback that they receive as they're writing. So continue to get good feedback, and they loved getting to hear from our writers as well. You can see in the report that ridership continues to be up. Whitestown in March was at 848 total riders compared to 785 in February. And in Plainfield, March was 1,708 riders compared to 1,344 in February. So things continue to go well with Go Express. I meet with their manager every other week, and they are just so responsive. That's one of my favorite things, is that if we have anything that happens. You know, if someone reports that the bus didn't come on time or was late or whatever, we just being able to have that instant access to knowing and confirming if the rider, you know, if that really was the case and finding out what was going on. We also had a couple situations recently with one of the drivers just not being on time and them having to find a backup driver, and appreciate they adapted quickly, finding that they needed to have one of their lead dispatchers to start earlier just to confirm that that bus was starting on time. So that was nice to know that know that dispatcher has to start at 4 a.m. now to make sure that everything's going on time. They were willing to adapt and do what they needed to do to make sure that we have that bus there at 5:10 a.m. for the express. Philip and I and Brandy have been working on the NTD, and that is almost complete. Philip and I are on like the last couple issues that we are ironing through and banging our heads on the wall sometimes, but getting through that. And so that's going well and is going to be complete hopefully today or in the next couple days. As far as my freedom goes, I included a report that Aaron shared with me there that you'll see. It's page 3 of my report, and it shows the January and February applications received as well as the total number of trips. So you'll see that January had 292 My Freedom trips and February 265. So that continues to be up, and we don't receive March numbers and it takes a while. So we still don't have the final numbers for March. That's why you don't see that there. But on that next page, I included all of the months of 2024. So you can just see that and you can compare that if you'd like to how things are going in 2025 so far. It does break it down by county as far as number of trips and the destination and the travel reason if you have any interest in seeing that. We're continuing to try to find opportunities to present about this. So if you think there is an opportunity in your county to present on My Freedom, we're more than happy to do that. I connected recently with Shelby County in the senior services and presented to their new director, making sure that she understood all of CIRTA's programs, but especially being a senior service center, being able to understand how we can supplement those trips as well. Want to make sure I give you an update on the pilot. So we've had some great meetings recently with Spare. Spare is the provider that Hamilton County Express is using. So if you remember, we learned about a little wrench in our plan because we were using CTS in order to gain access to that. We were going to gain access to CTS, I should say, in order to see the software, see the trips being scheduled with both Hancock County and Hamilton County Express, and then found out the Hamilton County Express had decided they were going to switch over to Spare. So we've had some good meetings with them recently, learning more about their software, learning what options we had so that it didn't interrupt the pilot program. And so we have agreed with them, as well as I've talked with Ben at Hamilton County Express, and they're all on board with us having access to be able to piggyback on their Spare agreement. So that is where we are with that. The next meeting will be updating our TAC group, letting them know, what is going on with Spare. I think most people already know about these things because of our County Connect meetings, as well as being a part of the various county agency meetings as well. But moving forward with that and then, just continuing on. So I was very happy that it didn't interrupt the pilot. Definitely changes things just slightly, but it's still totally doable, and Spare has been very supportive. So that's been great. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Amanda? Man, I want to say thanks for having Karen present at County Connect. I think everybody enjoyed that presentation. She did it. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Amanda, can you share with the team what you decided to do with Shelby County on the buses? Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one to bring up. So Shelby County, they love the idea of being able to supplement trips. Their services only go until 4 p.m. So after 4 p.m., if someone needs a ride, they're limited. So if someone has a 3 o'clock doctor's appointment, Shelby County Senior Services is able to drop them off, but what can they do after those hours? So they love hearing about how they can supplement with those riders with the My Freedom program. And so they agreed to allow us to create a flyer with a QR code. Also
we broke it down. I had Sam, one of our outreach reps, she helped create something in Canva. And so this is something that I just sent over to them recently. It explains step by step, you know, do you need a ride outside of Shelby County hours, or they're unavailable, they're full, you know, contact, here's the phone number, here's the website, follow this QR code if you need to. So really happy that they were so excited about that they're willing to promote it on their buses. And so this is something, now that we've prepared this for Shelby County, we can take to our other counties as well and see, you know, Link Hendricks County, Access Johnson County, any of our other counties, would you be willing to put this on your buses as well? So hopefully that in addition will increase the ridership, especially because if you look, currently we have had 0 rides in Shelby County. And so that's part of the goal with meeting with Shelby County, in hopes to increase these rides and start getting some out there.
Who would be the provider in Shelby County?
Well, I know that Karen has been working to try to get some additional providers along with Z-Trip. So it's currently Z-Trip. Z-Trip, as part of our contract, is willing to go out there. Because I know at times I have heard when I talk to Shelby County that if someone is contacting Z-Trip to just use them as more of a taxi service, that they've had trouble getting them out there. But it is in our contract to get them out there for this purpose. But I do know Karen is working on additional providers as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
That's a nice addition, to help supplement.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Amanda? If not, item 4C is executive update again.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to be very positive now with the funding conversation in the next couple updates. So since our last meeting, we've received our second installment of CMAQ funding for our program. And I just want to say how I'm grateful that a part of the federal exchange program with the IMPO, that our funds are not in an FTA grant currently, and being able to have access to those funds very easily at the moment is a peace of mind when it comes to the current environment that we're in. So we also, without any hesitation, received our signed split letter from Indigo and the MPO for our 5307 state fiscal year 2025 ask. So now that we have received that, we are able to start our grant amendment to get those funds to us. So a big holdup with that was waiting for apportionments with the FTA to come out, and partial apportionments were released, and our ask was in the partial apportionment amount. So we were able to get that signed and executed. You may remember from our last board meeting, Amanda and I were pretty sad to learn that our Region 5 FTA rep that we've been working with on our grants was let go, as he was a probationary employee. But we just learned that he has been back. We just had a call with him. So we were very, very excited to get to see him back working as our rep and guiding us on a day-by-day process. So one of the things that he actually brought up, not per our question, but he wanted to reassure us that he has not heard that formula funds, which are the 5307 funds that CIRTA receives for our mobility management program and the My Freedom program, have not been a topic of concern for FTA regarding something that could be cut at this point in time. Knock on wood, somebody please. But I just wanted to update you on those things, since there's a lot of conversation going on about funding and things to that extent. So that was very all good news, because those are all funding sources that CIRTA relies on.
Do you know if this representative is back by virtue of court order or of necessity?
I don't think we know. I don't think he even knows, I mean, just talking to him, we are in all conversations, the plan is to copy somebody else on all conversations. And his comments to us was he is back day by day.
Okay.
We had a reoccurring meeting for every other week previously, and I said, should we set up our cadence again of meetings? And he's like, oh, for now, let's see how things go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, but we were happy at least to see him back.
All right.
I'm gonna take every win every day that I can get, and that was one of them. So, I have, as some of you do, thank you, Mike, thank you, Linda. I've started to meet and present to different stakeholders since the last election. So if anybody has a stakeholder that they would like me to meet with, I'm more than happy to come present on CIRTA services. We will be starting to work on our partner contributions for our 2026 ask. I will be reaching out to individual board members to discuss with you individually how to approach those asks and how to receive money from hopefully those individuals. So wanted to update you on that. So that'll be something I'll be working on. Hopefully have that to you before the June board meeting. And my goal is to have it to you in May. So I wanted to let you guys know that we started to plan out our advertising tactics for the year. Some things we're currently investigating is a van pool educational campaign. I just learned that our database provider actually has a potential app to sync with our commuter database that would allow people to access our emergency ride home service that we have in a more efficient way. Also, being able to allow people to communicate with one another via the app directly. So that's something I'll be looking into. We're also going to be expanding some of our marketing material to Haitian Creole. Our outreach team is getting requests probably up to 3 times a week right now for Haitian Creole material. So so we're looking at least translating we already have our profile translated, but translating a couple of our other primary marketing pieces into Haitian Creole. We already have them in Spanish and English. So in addition to that, Chris, raise your hand in case everybody should know Chris. Hopefully by now, Chris is our program manager, and he has been doing a really great job with training our new team. We have 3 great outreach reps that are doing a fantastic job, and with his sales background, he's doing an amazing job and trying to keep them focused with results. And I love his thinking and what he can bring to the table for us with relation to that. Chris has begun to register and schedule our community events for the year. So right now we're scheduled for at least 35. I feel like that number since then, I think we've added a couple more. So yeah, so we're looking at, and those are community events covering all of CIRTA footprint. So if you know of a great community event in your county that you think it would be beneficial for CIRTA to attend, please let us know, and we will definitely look into being there. So with that being said, I also wanted to, I'm trying to think what else. Since our last meeting, we've also had a huge uptick in van pool interest, which is really great. So we have a tabling this week at the VA, I believe, right? So yeah. We have a tabling.
VA and DFAS.
Okay, so we are working with several different government agencies on the return to work order to promote van pooling. So for those of you who have been around CIRTA for a long time, you may remember that there were times in history where we've had 20 CIRTA vans going to DFAS, for example. And so we have those conversations are re-engaged. I'm excited that we're tabling at the VA because I can't remember ever tabling at the VA in the 13 years I've been at CIRTA. So between the state, the VA, DFAS, we're also still working actively with SMC in Noblesville and Salesforce on strong van pool leads right now. So that is something that we're excited about. Amanda is working on transitioning a majority of the van pool stuff to Chris with Sam's assistant, who is one of our outreach reps. So with the goal of hopefully having that transition done this summer. Of course, we're not gonna let Chris hang, but we'll always be there to support him. But we're excited about that. So also, I wanted to mention that our team, considering that Noah is the outreach rep that was just hired, and he isn't fully out yet in the community. We've actually have registered since our last board meeting, 358 commuters. So that's like a record besides Car Free Day. So, and that's not even being fully staffed. So the need and the demand for what we do is still very prevalent. I think it's going to be more prevalent in the ministry with everything we have going on. People are going to be more interested in ways to save money and the environment that we're in. So that is something that we are going to continue to educate the community about. And I'm excited for that progress that we've made. So also wanted to just talk about, as we approach May, some of you may have heard that Bike Indianapolis and SEBA have merged. If you don't know, CIRTA has the Bike Buddy program that we started with Bike Indianapolis, and they have just hired a new executive director to oversee the two merged companies. And I'll be meeting with him. Amanda and I already kind of know him a little bit because we've met him before in the community because he's an avid cyclist and things. His name is Anthony, and I'm going to butcher his last name. Churalis? Probably did that better than I could. I don't know if I've ever heard it, but that's how I read it. But we are actually meeting tomorrow, and we'll be working closely with that relationship and making sure we work together to continue to, support them, but also to what kind of goals do we have together and how can we work together. Chris has been attending regular meetings with Bike Indianapolis. He has actually scheduled a kickoff mentor training with with Bike Indianapolis that will be at CIRTA coming up on April 23rd. He's also been working with them. Some of you guys might be familiar with, they had a Bike to Work Day event and it's kind of gone stale. So Chris had a good idea of like, hey, why don't we move that to a weekend and why don't we make like a bike month out of it? So that he's been working closely with them and they loved that idea, and they're going to be having an event. Do you want to talk about that event real quick?
Sure. It's going to be May 4th. Yep. Star Wars. But it's going to be at Gugman House. I don't know if you guys heard of it. There's going to be lots of entertainment. We got several vendors will be there. We got some music. Guest speakers, which haven't been announced yet. But if anybody's interested in being a guest speaker, let us know. It's going to be from 1 to 4, again at the Gugman House on Sunday, May 4th. So I anticipate it turned out to be a little bit better than it was past years, where it was people had to get to work, so they really didn't have much time to stop at a particular area that we were in. This will allow them to learn about not only Bike Month, but Bike Day and Bike Week that we also have going. During Bike Week, we are going to be celebrating that between May 12th and May 16th. And we're gonna be located at, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at certain locations near, the Pacers bike share locations off of certain trails. I know for sure we're gonna be there at the Monday event, which is at, and I'm not too familiar with the city as yet, but it's, Hope's Run. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I think it's near the IU hospitals and stuff. So we're gonna be set up on a trail, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And we're gonna be, celebrating for bike week. So it's, a couple different things that are happening between us and I think, May is gonna be pretty interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And we're working with Carmel still with their Coffee in the Monon events and things. So if your community has any kind of Earth Day events or biking events that they would like CIRTA to participate in that we might not be capturing, please let us know and we'd be happy to be there. So that is about all I have for you right now. Any questions?
Jen, yeah, I have one. Has Commissioner West arranged any kind of follow-up after our meeting?
No, I have attempted to reach out on a couple occasions and I have not heard anything.
Okay.
Before we adjourn, just to, Ron, we'll be thinking of you. Jen passed on this morning, your daughter passed. I got that right, correct? So,
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers with you. So,
Well, I just wanted to make one comment that I'm doing this. Everybody that I talk to at my church and other places, my son, who was a firefighter that passed in '95 in the line of duty, was a organ donor, and my daughter was an organ donor. And I learned some information when we were working with the donor network that only 10% of the national population are donors. But of that, only 1% of the donors have viable organs that can be used for transplant. But in my daughter's case, it were her kidneys, but all of her other organs were used for research. So I just always publicly, speak to that. And the donor network says they're, after I have a time to, to deal with all this, that they might be using me as a spokesperson. And we had a little laugh that, well, Tony Stewart was one of their spokespersons. And, they said, well, I said, even my bald head, even though it's not Tony Stewart, I'd be more than willing to do that. But I would encourage your family to know what your wishes are so that you can have the expectation that you can get through it. And I thank you for understanding that.
thank you, Ron. Once again, thoughts and prayers with you. Nothing else for today's meeting. Do need a motion and a second for adjournment.
So moved.
Larry, motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Michael.
That was me.
That was Linda.
That was me. I don't think I
Linda,
said
sorry.
that.
It's okay, Linda.
I wasn't looking down there. I was just
Sitting back there.
Okay, I'm sorry, Linda and who?
And Michael.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you again, and we'll see you all in June.
Thank you, everybody.
Sorry, Linda.
You're fine. Jen, I will not be here at the June meeting. I'll be in Japan.
Okay, can you take me with? Can I come?
Sure. Leave Monday, so Monday the 9th.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's gonna be wonderful. Okay, so, no worries. Thank you for giving me a heads up. I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Just didn't.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I would really like to go there someday. I actually was just researching Japan. Was it? I mean, it's far off for me.
She said it looked like it was an issue
a few more years.
like the system, and so she recommended just stay.
You never know what can happen. So,
What's your
But of course, they'll,
student
you know,
studying at
something
this
more,
moment?
but.
he
Okay,
is.
I just wanted, okay, I just wanted to make
Mechanical
sure it wasn't like
engineering
us and we're like nervous of something.
So he is
Pretty sure.
doing very well so far. He